Boop. We're back with the Age of Mythology music. So, I think, so let's go to my Twitter first. Because I actually talked a little bit about this on Twitter as well. This is my main account for those who don't follow it. It's not a big deal. This is not really... It's just me with my personal stuff and promoting my brand. Blah, 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 blah. So I talked a lot about hard work versus talent. And I personally think... where is it? Yeah, there we go. So I personally think talent is a lot of bullshit. People who say talent doesn't matter are cappers. People who say hard work isn't most of the Smash Bros. Arts Cup. So that's a fair way to look at it. In my opinion, talent definitely matters, but you need both, and mostly hard work to get better at nearly anything too. So what is talent? What is talent? People who say talent exists, I haven't actually seen anyone like tell me what talent is. Do we know what talent is neurologically? Like, I can actually like so we don't know what the fuck talent is. We don't know any part of the brain that like relates to talent. I can tell you what not having talent is like. So I don't think I have a lot of talent for Smash. But I still reached like top 20 Europe. So, just Mighty Edwin, thanks for the follow, man. Appreciate the support. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Learn a thing or two about a thing or two. So, like, we don't know what talent is neurologically. So, thanks for the follow, YYZ. Appreciate the support, man. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying healthy as well, Ricardo. In these trying times. It doesn't matter anyway. So, like, putting aside the it doesn't matter anyway, right? We don't know what talent is exactly. It's just like a string of observations from people, and because it's like it's more of a cultural thing than a scientific thing. So people observe that some people learn faster than others, and they link that back to talent. So I think talent is like it's a cultural aspect more than a scientifically proven concept. So we don't know what it is neurologically, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have any merits. Because I do think, like, say that you run an experiment and you notice a pattern in your experiment, or you notice something that is like very clearly like something that's very clearly happening in your results, but you don't know what the cause is. It's still important to note the fact that it is happening, right? So what people are observing is that some people learn things faster than other people. And it's very, like, talent is basically, like, the cultural, like, the cultural answer to what is happening. But there's actually a lot of proof that, that talent is not, like, an innate thing. So talent is something that you can cultivate. I would define talent as Smash as innate reaction speed and hand-eye. So that's very fair. So if you want to tell me that like a biological advantage in reaction speed or hand-eye coordination is talent, then sure. But I wouldn't call that talent, right? I don't think that's talent. I think that's just a biological advantage. If you want to call that talent, then that's fine. We just have different definitions of talent. I actually think like... So there's someone in my Discord server, and they play Smash, but they have like a form of memory loss, and it's very hard for them to remember things, and that makes it very hard for him to permanently etch things into his gameplay and to permanently make improvements to his gameplay. So, I think that is like you could say that is like a lack of talent to some degree. But I think it's mostly like very sad, because that sounds like a really shitty situation to live in, right? But like to him, everyone might have talent, and I can get the point of view, even though I don't agree with the sentiment exactly. Yeah. So what Circe is saying. So say someone is 2 meters, would they be more talented as basketball? Because they can still suck at basketball. So I don't think that's talent. I think that's a biological advantage. I think, like, talent, the way people look at talent, it's more like a neurological advantage. So it's like, you are talented at playing Smash, so you're going to be faster at learning things. You're going to be better at reading the opponents. You're going to be, and there's no reason for that. You were just born like that, man. You were born with a good brain to figure people out. You were born with a good brain to learn new things. And I mean, there are ways that brains vary in those regards, but that doesn't mean that it's an innate thing. It's not like, and you cannot, like, it's very hard to prove whether it's innate or not. And I'm not saying, like, okay, so my point of view is that I don't know if talent exists or not. And based on what I know and the research that I, so Aki, you can send it on me on the Discord DM. You can send it to me in a Discord DM. So based on my research, this is very cultivatable. So you can train how good you are at learning new things, and you can train how good you are at reading people. And the way I look at it is like, can you prove that it was there from the get-go? Or perhaps as a kid, as a 2-year-old toddler, you were in a household where your parents would get mad seemingly at random, and you don't know why. So you train yourself to read someone's, I don't know, like minor hints to decipher what their emotional state is. Simply because that's what you had to do as a toddler. And then when you start playing Smash, you become really good at deciphering someone's emotional condition. Like, good for you, man. Like, that's an advantage. And people don't know abuse gives people talent. So it's just a stupid example, right? But, like, people see that and they think, oh, he's just so talented at reading his opponents. But in reality, he cultivated that talent through, like, years of hard work without knowing it. Right? So there's a lot of ways that you can get better at something without actively getting better at it. That said, it is proven that, you know, stuff like deliberate practice also improves your results a lot. So that's something that a lot of people don't do. Is like deliberate practice and practicing the right way. So some people will spend years playing Smash, but they never do it deliberately. And then eventually they come to a point where, you know, they play like the Wi-Fi playstyle. They go for their high risk, high reward options. They kind of go for, you know, like the random shit that is really rewarding. And then sometimes they get an upset because, you know, it's high variance. So sometimes it goes very well. Sometimes it goes very poorly. Sometimes it kind of evens out. But at the end of the day, you're making it fucking random, and that's not a goal when you want to be an expert, right? When you want to be an expert, your goal is consistent results. And when you want to get to consistency, you need to be deliberate. So how do you define deliberate practice? So being deliberate about your practice is like pulling as many aspects about your practice from the unconscious to the conscious. So you gotta be conscious about what you're doing and use your system 2 thinking to train your system 1 thinking. Can intelligence be trained? So intelligence is very hard to define. I think a lot of the argument is modeled because there isn't that much consensus. Right, but there isn't a lot of consensus about how the brain works. So who are you to claim that talent exists, right? So when you claim that something exists, there's a burden of proof. And all that talent is based on is circumstantial evidence and like empiric evidence, which in a scientific way means bullshit. So intelligence has a lot of facets, and it's not very well defined in science at all. So is intelligence trainable? No, but you can actually train your neuroplasticity. I often think what a person could practice better in solo training. Yeah, so that's an example. But even when you're not solo training, when you're playing as other people, being deliberate about what you're doing is very important. So this is a thing called neuroplasticity, and basically it means how easily can you change how your brain works, right? And it's extremely broken when you're young. This is when you learn languages, and then it kind of sucks, and then you're good at it again, and then it kind of sucks as you get older and older. So when you're when you're around here, this is when you're probably going to be best at fighting games, because this is going to make it easier to adapt. It's going to make it quicker at picking up new things and learning stuff. Thanks for reviewing my sets. Of course, man. I mean, that's a service I offer. It goes up again. There's hope for me. I hope you're not 8 years old, dude. How do we explain the difference in learning speed factors? If two people have the exact same environment and education. Some people don't have the exact same environment and education. And also, not the same way of thinking, right? So the way you approach a situation changes a lot about how quickly you learn. So, it's something that I used to say a lot is, you need to get better at getting better. And I like that this is becoming more of a generally accepted thing in the Smash community, because a lot of people suck at getting better, and you know, being good at improving is a whole nother game than trying to improve at Smash itself. So if you're good at improving, you're good at like conscious practice, you're good at identifying problems, you're good at solving problems, you're good at you know, creative solving, problem solving, for example. So like, there's a lot of factors that go into how good are you at improving, and a lot of it is how deliberate are you about your practice. And that's actually supported by Erickson, who wrote Peak and various other books about improving. Is that the key to getting better is being good at improving, and the key to being good at improving is deliberate practice. I can relate. It took me 4 years from Brawl to Smash 4 to neutral. So I sucked in Brawl. So in Brawl, relatively to now, I sucked, right? And then in Smash 4, I became really good. You know why I became really good in Smash 4? Because I went to school and I learned how to learn. I researched fighting games and I started understanding them at a more fundamental level. And I started solving not symptoms, but root causes. And I started expanding the way I think about the game as well. Some people are good at school but not smart per se. So you went to the same school as your peers, you might have outperformed some others. Why is that? Yeah, so I don't think I'm good at school, but I still outperformed like 90% of people in my university, right? And it's not because I'm like super smart, because I'm not, but I mean, I got good at learning. Every time I met a prodigy at my school, it seemed like they had no hobbies outside of doing what they do. Right? So, like, they spend a lot of time getting good at what they want to do. What's your opinion on the Pygmalion effect? What? I don't know what that is, so let's look it up. Let's zoom in a little bit. It's a phenomenon whereby others' expectation of a target person exceeds the target's first performance. So this is a thing where you tell your problem kid in class, I expect you to become a great leader in class, and then they start becoming a great leader. Yeah, so people rise up to what others expect from them, so that's one thing. But I don't think that kind of plays into talent or hard work. I think it plays into good mentorship, and I think good mentorship is gonna help you reach a level of talent. For example, Mozart had arguably the best talent, like the best teacher in the world. So Mozart's father was specialized in teaching kids music. He wrote like a book. He's like a teacher. So he started teaching Mozart's older sister. Then he got even better at teaching, and then he applied those skills to teaching Mozart. It's actually insane. I don't know if this knows that he wrote a book. No, they don't. I don't even know. But yeah, he actually wrote a book on teaching kids music. So stuff like that. Like, he was a good mentor. And that's like such a huge factor. And everyone looks at Mozart and they see a prodigy, but they don't see like the thousands of hours of hard work, of deliberate practice, Like, they didn't just teach him how to play music, they taught him to dissect musical scores of, like, the grades, right? To write his own, to adjust grade scores to be even better. All that type of stuff to get him theoretical knowledge, and to work from a theoretical base. So that's a thing. Have you ever heard a smasher, like, with good theory? They're rare, man. They're fucking rare. Like, find me a smasher that's good at theory, I can count them on, like, one hand at best. So that's, like, a good starting point, isn't it? And there's a lot more like that. If knowing how to learn well isn't being smart, then what is? I don't know. I think the people see intelligence as, like, something that you that you're born with. So, like, I'm smart. I can do the Mensa test. So, you know, I was born being smart. But learning well is something that you can train. It's a skill. How would you be able to learn how to learn? So basically, so teaching people how to learn is not my specialty. But I think the main way to get better at learning how to learn is to get better at problem solving. And for something like Smash as well, excuse me there, it's also recognizing problems. Yeah, I think that's, like, the core of it. It's, like, recognizing problem, being able to analyze good enough to, like, pinpoint what is going wrong. There are kids that have music teachers as parents and they are Mozart. Right, but, like, have you ever seen, like, a Chinese, like, 6-year-old piano player playing, like, 6-year-old piano prodigy? Is that Mozart? I don't fucking know. Did she get trained from birth by a parent that really wants her to be the best piano player in the world? Probably. Like, do you think she did this off of raw talent? What is good theory? So good theory is hard to define. But I think the most important thing, we get it, you're good, we get it, you're amazing. The most important thing about good theory is that your theory is elegant, right? So you need your theory to cover a lot of aspects about the game in one fell swoop. And I think that's, like, the best. The more you have to adjust your theory for new situations, the worse. And, you know, you can just test out your theory and see how it turns out in like real time as well. So theory is partially experience, because at the end of the day, practice is applied theory. So the only way to really test your theory is to apply it, or to try to apply it through, like, theory, like analysis of thoughts, for example. But even if talent as such doesn't exist, doesn't childhood influence almost fill that role, since we cannot control it? So that is something that I would agree with. So I think that theory has merits. I think there is an argument to be made. I think there's an argument to be made that you learn certain things in your childhood period in a way, like, when your brain is still very very easy to you know, pick up new connections, etc., etc. So you learn it in such a way that you cannot learn it later in life. I do not know if that is the case, because I do believe that at the end of the day, that you can train your brain to be just as good. But I don't know that for sure. Like, and I don't know if scientists know that for sure. So I cannot say much about it. But I think you can make a case that that is talent. But I would say that you can cultivate that yourself. Because even if at a young age you learn things more quickly, more easily, perhaps even more deeply, that doesn't exclude the fact that it's possible for people later in life to do the same things. So it's something that I don't necessarily disagree with. Hey Forline, good to see you, man. I didn't even know what a piano was at her age. Technique is definitely something that can be taught through super grinding. So a lot of people things can be taught through super grinding. I actually think, you know, there's a lot of like gray area in what makes someone talented and like insight, right? So something that a lot of people talk about when they talk about talent is like, how much insight does someone have? Just quickly turning on the light. Yeah, so how much insight does someone have? But how do you quantify insight, right? There's always an innate difference in people. Biologically, it is impossible that people are identical. I do not think everyone has the same potential from the start, as there's no way that everyone's brain is the same. Training can influence it tremendously, but there is a difference in my opinion. So I don't agree with that at all. So yeah, biologically people are not identical. And I think if you have like a handicap, like you have a learning disorder, or your reaction time is actually really bad, then yes, perhaps you cannot break into the very top of the top. Or like if your learning disorder is significant enough, you cannot, you cannot improve too much. And like that kind of sucks. And it's the same, it's the same with basketball. If you're 1.50 m, you're not going to excel at basketball. And that kind of sucks. But there's, like, yes, there is no way that everyone's brain is the same. But that doesn't mean, like, that doesn't exclude the fact that everyone can train their brain. And even though your brain is different from my minion from hell, and I'm pretty sure you don't have a learning disorder. I don't have one either. If you spent the same time on this shit as I did, and you had the same approach as me, like, I'm pretty sure you would be at about the same place as I was. Like almost 100% actually. And that is if we call all the time I spent on this. So even the time that I spent playing Warcraft 3, getting better at that, the time I spent playing League, getting better at that, the time I spent in university researching fighting games, like if you take all the time together, I have no doubt that you would be as good as I am. And it's not the same that I'm good, but it's just an example, right? But things like absolute hearing cannot be learned unless once you unlearn them at a certain age. Only relative hearing. And from a certain point on, you can't learn new sounds anymore language-wise. So you cannot really catch up to anything. So there's an argument to be made for neuroplasticity, right? So if you go down the curve, like you can call this talent, but then everyone has the exact same talent. Like you're talented until from this part and from this part. And this is talent and the rest is you sucking absolute dick. But then everyone gets it, so what's the fucking point of blaming it on talent? You just didn't work hard enough when it mattered enough. And that sucks. But that's not talent. I wouldn't call that talent, at least. And it's actually possible to train perfect pitch. I think Ericsson literally did perfect pitch training. Anyway, it's a long read. You can read it in your free time if you're interested. There might be like a minor 1% difference, and I can agree with that. But I think like most of the difference is in the different ways that people think about the game and approach the game, not in like inherent talent or anything like that. Thanks for the follow, damn. Appreciate the support. Hope you enjoy the stream and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Right, so you should never blame something on talent. I definitely agree with that. But like, what bothers me is that if you're a rational person, then you understand how burden of proof works. And when you claim talent exists, then the burden of proof is on you to prove that talent exists. You need to prove that it's there. But people can't. The only thing they have is the empirical data, and they don't know enough about circumstances or the way the brain works, or like the circumstances, like the variables that need to line up to be talented, or to result in the evidence that they see. So if you claim talent exists, then show me the part of the brain that holds my talent. I want to see how small it is. I want to see my peanut in my brain that holds all my talent, but it's not there. Yeah, there's not a lot of scientific evidence either way, right? So why would we assume talent exists? Do you think it's hell no. Dude, you could learn the game at age 50 and still be a good player, I think. everyone has characters that is just easier for them to play because it just fits the way they think. So if a top 5 player, by fitting, not as a result of practice, were removed from the game, they would be less talented, as the way of thinking they are used to, mainly from childhood, does not work well. Based on that, there's something like talent, but it's not purely innate, and hard work is certainly make up for it. So, I mean, there you could have done things in your early life that gives you a predisposition to excel more at certain things, and you can call that talent, but talent implies that it's an innate thing. And I just don't, like, I think with hard work, you can also build up that predisposition. So I get where you're coming from, but I think the nuance is a little bit different. I think denying its existence altogether is giving it credit, though. Yeah, but, like, it's like, I don't think there's more merit to giving credit to talent's existence than there is to giving credit to, for example, like hard work in certain ways. So, for example, getting better at getting better, right? I think there's something that causes the symptoms of talent. So when we look at what's happening, like the symptoms that we say that is because of talent. But I think there's something else at its core. So I don't think it's called talent, because talent as a word just talks about an innate aspect of a human, and I don't think it's an innate aspect. I don't think that's how the brain works. I feel like talent's anything that can give you an advantage over other people. So that's fair. Like, if that's your definition, then we don't have the same definition, and like if you look at that definition, then a lot of people can have talent. Just saying I don't have talent is so easy to do. It's an unpopular excuse. Yeah. I can agree on an innate talent. Then we agree. But like, that is the part that bothers me, is people who are like, talent. I don't have talent, so that's how it is. There's that brawl, but how empowering would it be if you could discover that your lack of talent isn't affecting at all? Yeah, so I think not, like, yeah, I agree with that. Nothing to add. It's empowering to have more control over your life. So I'm going to interrupt the analysis a little bit. So there's this concept called the locus of control in psychology, which has a very close empirical link to happiness in your life. So actually, these are all horrible images because it's like a 2x2. Right. So this is the locus of control. So there's perceived control, internal or external, and then there's attributes of control and absolute of no control. Right. So if you have a lot of control and it's internal, then it's about the ability. And if you have a lot of control and things are external, then a task is hard. But when you have no control, it's all about the effort, or it's all about luck. So a lot of people who talk about talent, they think that it's an external thing, so it's nothing they can control, and it's it's all down to to luck or fate. Was I born with good talent? Well, if you say that you have control over it and it's something inside of you, it becomes ability. So this is basically what I'm seeing. It's like, this is like the debate to me. This is what people call talent. This is either luck or fate. And this is what I think talent is. I think it's ability. I think you have control over it, and I think it's an eternal thing. No one gives you talent. It's not external. So there's that. So let's go back to this.